What's up, nerds? Welcome back. Let's talk about Superman Son of Kal-El #2, a series that apparently is getting a lot of attention nowadays. Now, as you may be wondering, Dylan, you didn't bother to cover the first issue of this series. Are you just jumping on to issue 2 because of all the uproar around it? Well, no, I did read the first issue and I didn't really have that much of a problem with it. I mean, it was sort of straightforward, and as you can see, they were trying to do the whole like classic thing by trying to make it look like the original. Like you can see very clearly, they were trying to literally just copy it. The one thing I don't understand though is like on the modern one, they put the barcode down here, but on the old one, the price is up here. So why wouldn't you just put the barcode in the same place, like up here? You know what I mean? Just put it right there on the side. It might seem jarring to you, but considering that's where the price was on the original one, why wouldn't you do that? So, I mean, like, I really didn't have anything overly analytical to say about this. They were just trying to do, like, this whole if they're going to force Jon Kent to be the new Superman, then I figured, okay, you know what? That right there, whatever. Just, it was the first issue. It was him being a superhero. I normally like when I see that type of thing from DC because they're usually so caught up in trying to make statements that they tend to forget telling superhero stories. But this was so middle of the road that I was just like, all right, we'll see where this goes. And apparently, this is where we've gone. So let's kind of talk about what we're actually seeing in this particular issue. Because, like I said, well, yeah, that first one was really just kind of like introduction because this one actually sets up like the first storyline, you know what I mean? So that one was really just kind of like us feeling into the whole thing of like what Superman means and kind of like redefining that for a new generation. That's really the only thing I got from the first issue. Nothing like too critical, nothing too crazy to like throw at it. But here is where we're getting into some more stuff. So we start out with this thing where apparently Jon Kent just spends his day like most teenagers watching videos on his phone, but he's one of those kids that apparently likes to watch like videos about what is this one called, The Truth. It's apparently just like one of those. I can't really say too much about it because I watch a lot of YouTubers. I don't just watch stuff about comics. I also watch stuff about like the news, politics, like all kinds of different like issues. I also watch stuff about like art and things like that. But I mean, I can see why this would be a thing. Like, pretty much has become a thing for just about everybody, right? Like, most people get their news not so much from traditional sources like, you know, the CNNs or MSNBCs of the world, which is a good thing. But, yeah, you're seeing a lot more of this where people like get their stuff from the internet. So I found this to be kind of true to life. The fact that he would just be like looking at this stuff on his phone. That's probably where most teenagers nowadays would probably like turn, you know, for their news because they're not willing to look at the news sources that their parents would look at, even if it's like like I said, CNN or MSNBC. Whatever. So we're seeing this thing where this guy on The Truth is talking about a boatload of asylum seekers have escaped the supposedly glorious nation of Gomorrah and are traveling over rough seas towards Metropolis. And then all of a sudden, while he's watching that, he gets interrupted by his mom. And she's telling him to like get up or whatever. And he says, I'm up, mom. She says, you need to be further along than up. It's your first day and you're going to be late. So we get the like little internal monologue from him where he's saying, I'm not usually late for anything. It's what happens when you can move far faster than the speed of sound. But today I could be late because today I'm not Jon Kent. Today I'm not the son of Superman. I'm Finn Connors. And I saw an article about this that apparently he knows how to do secret identities better than his father. So I will say, I will give marks. She put on a wig. She put on some extra hair. That's all it is. Like I saw this whole thing about like, see, he like actually came up with a name and he has like this whole getup and he put on like shades and a like crazy wig. So obviously he was trying harder than Clark Kent, who just put on some glasses and expected nobody to know. That's not the only thing. And if that's the only thing you have to point to as a criticism of Clark Kent, you don't understand what he was actually doing. He didn't just put on some glasses and hope that nobody would notice. This has been been explained multiple times. He put on the glasses, he would stoop his shoulders, he would like kind of hunch himself down, he would raise the octave of his voice so that he didn't sound the same as Superman. It wasn't just, oh, I put on glasses, now nobody can tell. No, there was a lot more to it than that. But apparently we've distilled it all down to, oh, let's put a wig, now he's totally invisible. So anyway, that's just my one little gripe. And it's not even particularly connected to this. It's just because, like I said, I saw that article on this and I was like, that was stupid. Why did you even write this article? But it was probably to get people like me to read it. Anyway, so he's like walking out and his mom asks, like, are you nervous? He says, I've faced murderous supervillains, Mom. And she's like, oh, I know. I've done the therapy. You nervous? And he's like, yeah, a little. So she tells him to be himself. And he says, without being too myself, the superhero thing. So he takes off, and again, he's like saying like he can afford to be late because he's not moving at the speed of sound. He's moving at the speed of what? A 2003 Cord Motors Jeep. So I like how they call it a Jeep still, as if like Jeep isn't a brand. Like they changed it to Cord Motors instead of Ford Motors, get it? But then they call it a Jeep, as if a Jeep isn't like whatever. Anyway, so it's kind of like a dumpster, you know what I mean? Everybody calls them dumpsters, but dumpster is a very specific brand. They're not all dumpsters. Some of them are just big trash cans. Anyway, not important, but somehow that's one of those things where like the brand end up becoming like the name for what it is. Anyway, so he says, my first day at college with a whole new life, and he's showing up as we're seeing this. I mean, literal, like, just straight up stereotypical school shooter. Literally, he's just sitting there loading bullets. And you might be wondering, what's on the bullets? Like, inscribed into the bullets is prayers and thoughts. So he's getting ready to go send a whole bunch of thoughts and prayers to people. When I saw that, I was like, did you really think that was clever? Like, come on now. So anyway, he's talking about like he's gonna get a new start, and he walks up and he sees this like pink-haired dude, which if I've learned anything about being in college, you usually avoid the dudes with the pink hair. Anyway, so he's telling him like, welcome aboard, Finn, because he asked if he wanted to sign up for the media department. So he signed up for it and everything. So he's over here thinking to himself like, oh, perfect. This is my chance to just be like a regular person. Nobody's going to know I have powers and I can just live like everybody else does. And then all of a sudden, of course, like I said, the school shooter comes up. So you would imagine, oh, this is about to go from, weird to very bad. And that's what happens where like he starts firing. But of course, he's thinking to himself like, well, my cover is already blown on the first day, because he didn't actually shoot anybody. As you can see, he managed to like soak up all the bullets and then goes and gets him, and he like tackles the dude and everything, scans him for like extra weapons or whatever, and then kind of just like turns him over to the police. But of course, everybody sees him do that, so they're like, oh, this is great, like Superboy goes to our school and everything. And then we see the pink-haired kid come up with his wig, like, Finn, I think you lost something or whatever. So he gives him the hair back, and then he's leaving with his like clothes all destroyed, where you can see the Superman costume right through. So he just picks up his Jeep, flies it away onto the moon so he can go and think. And here's where it became so insufferable, where he's talking to Superman, the actual one, his dad, because he shows up and he's like asking him like, oh, you heard about what happened with the school today and everything? He's like, yeah, I heard. And he's asking him if it was like because of super hearing. He says, no, it's because of Lois. We could have just said your mom, but I guess I would have looked weird for him to say your mom. But anyway, so he says, so that's it for Finn Connors? He's like, yeah, sorry. I know Batman and Oracle called in a lot of favors to create that alter ego. He's like, you never have to apologize for doing the right thing, John. I'm just sorry for what you had to sacrifice to do it. And this is where they're kind of just sitting looking at the planet, and John is kind of like or Clark Kent is telling his son, Jon Kent, because apparently this is the way I'm going to have to do it now. They're both apparently going by the name of Superman. It isn't big. It's big, isn't it? He asks him, and he's like, it's big, and it's very, very small. So he says, yes. And then the dad tells him, you can see what I can, no. John says, you can see what I can see, Dad. See what I mean? This is just ridiculous. Oceans struggling to breathe, forests disappearing, ice melting, inaction due to selfishness and fear, division and tribalism, and stupid borders. So, Clark says, I get you're having a bad day, but that's pretty bleak. So he's like, am I wrong though? And he's like, no, you're not wrong, but you've looked at the small, now look at the big. What could it be? So this is where he and I'm telling you, this whole thing, it was basically just, I guess Tom Taylor tried to like tell people what his personal beliefs are because he says, it could be a place where every problem could be tackled if only the world would unite. A place where no one is left behind. Oh, hi, President Bush. I haven't seen you in a while. Anyway, so he says, yes. And then he says, Dad, why don't you do more? To which he's like, sorry, I didn't mean to. He's like, no, it's okay. Bullets bounce off me. I should be able to handle some constructive criticism. And this is where he says, I think part of me holds back because I wasn't born here. I can help, but I can't lead except by example. Part of me feels it's not my place. That's a really weak way to describe this. To say that he wasn't born here, so that's why he feels like, oh, well, I can't really do too much because I'm not really from here. That's no, that doesn't make sense for Clark Kent. That doesn't make sense for Superman. He is very much, he understands this is his home. This is his place. Like, he was never raised on Krypton. So, yes, he may be Kryptonian. He may technically be alien, but this is his home. And he believes that just as much as anyone else does. Anyway, so this whole thing of like him saying like I can help but I can't lead. Yeah, definitely. That's always kind of been his thing more so, like just to help people out. He's not really trying to tell other people how they should live or be the one upon whom others must rely. He just tries to be that helping force. So, anyway, his son tells him, well, that's idiotic. And that's where he tells him, like, your criticism is getting less constructive. So he says, you're the greatest hero on the planet. If you won't step up, who will? And he says, I was thinking you. This is your planet, John. This is your place. So again, like it's your place too. And it's been Superman's for like the longest time. So I don't know why he's all of a sudden doing this whole thing of like, oh, well, yeah, I'm mostly disconnected from this. I don't really have that big of an attachment to it the way that you do. So he's telling him, like, or John asks, are you literally dropping the weight of the world on my shoulders? And he says, you won't have to lift it alone. You'll have friends to help bear the burden. To which he says, I don't really have many friends. I was hoping Finn Connors would. So he's like, yeah, come on. So they take off flying. And that's where they show up to the Fortress of Solitude because he was saying, like, I need to give you the key to the house. And John was like, well, I have a key to the house. But obviously he meant this key to the other house. So we see that this is the second Fortress of Solitude in the Arctic Circle in Greenland. So he's telling him, I want you to look after this fortress. No parties. I'll know if Damien breaks anything. But he says, I was making something for you when you were older. Then we lost all those years when you were away. And suddenly you are older. I know you have one from the future, but I thought you might like one from now. So this is where he kind of like gives him like a suit and everything and just kind of telling him like, yeah, it used to be mine and it's gone through like a couple of battles or whatever. So it had some damage, but both his mom, or technically John's grandma, and Batman were basically able to like repair the damages and everything from the other battles. So he tells him about all of that. And then John asks him why now? Like, why is he giving him the fortress and the suit now? So Clark says, I was going to wait to give you this suit on your 18th birthday, but there's a chance I'll have to go away, John. To which he asks for how long. He's like, I'm not sure, but I promise I won't miss any more years of our life. If I do have to go, I need you to look after this big and very, very small world, son. And if you feel you need to step up more than I do, I trust you to do it right. So he's like, now you should get home. So this is where we see again John back at home. He's watching another one of his videos where he sees like them talking again about like this ship that's in, what country is it? Gamora. So they're saying like no one wants to risk the anger of the resource-rich nation. No one wants to paint that target on themselves because apparently they're trying to like say like this doesn't even exist. Like it's not a problem that we have or whatever. So he says, these leaders don't want to upset a thin-skinned tyrant. People are about to die. So that's where we see, like, they're literally about to die because we cut from there over to where, like, they're in the ocean about to, like, all capsize, I guess. Because it looks like the boat's about to flip. But, of course, Jon Kent, the new Superman, shows up. He saves the kid, like, from the water or whatever. And then he kind of, like, gets them out of there by, like, picking up the boat and flying it away. So, but of course we have to get this whole thing where like he's calming down the kid and he's like, hey, what's your name? To which he's like, I'm Takumi. She was like, Takumi, that's a great name. He's like, you don't have to tell me. I know who you are. He's like, "You're Superman." So that's where we get this whole shot of him like carrying the boat out, and then of course we have to do the whole little trope of like he flies into Metropolis, and people are like, "Look up in the sky," and then the guy is like, "Is that a boat?" So yeah, he brings him down. He's like, "Welcome to the city of tomorrow," or whatever, and so there's this next part that also doesn't make any sense where all of a sudden like he puts them down in the harbor right there, and then the cops show up and they're like, "Everybody stay where you are, put your hands behind your back," and like shit like that. So I was like, or yeah, "Stay where you are, leave any belongings on your vessel, place your hands behind your back." I was like, why are you, this doesn't make any sense. Like, not only is this not believable for a comic book, this isn't believable in real life. Under no circumstances in any universe would somebody show up with a boat full of refugees and the cops show up like, "Okay, let's put everybody in handcuffs." That's not a thing. For one thing, they don't have that many handcuffs. For another thing, why would that be their immediate response to women and children? Like, that's not even something that Border Patrol does. You know what I mean? So the idea that just random cops would be like, "Okay, let's put everybody in cuffs until we know exactly what's going on," that doesn't make sense. At the very least, they would tell them, "Stay on the boat until we know what's going on." So we get that whole scene where, of course, like Superman, or I'm calling him Superman, but I mean, that's just because that's who he's parading around as right now. Anyway, he comes down, he tells the cop to like take the cuffs off one of the guys, and then he uses his laser vision to get rid of them when the cop won't do it. So then one of the other cops, or like, was he like a captain or whatever? Yeah, he says, "I'll just remove them, Captain." So he's like, "All right, no restraints." He tells all the other cops. So this is where before he leaves, John tells the kid Takumi, he's like, "These people are going to look after you, and I'll be checking in on you, I promise." And that's where he like finally takes off. So he flies up to this rooftop and finally finds that guy from earlier, the one who did the like the truth videos and everything. So he's talking to him in his mask and everything. And John is kind of like asking him like, "Well, how did you like sneak up on me? Like, how did you get up here without me noticing and everything?" And he says, "You were pretty distracted, but it's all right. I just wanted to thank you." He's like, "For what?" "For saving me from a mad gunman." And that's where he finally like takes off the mask. And again, it's that same little pink-haired weirdo with his wig still for some reason. He's just been hanging on to it. He's like, "You lost your secret identity for me. I figure you deserve to know mine. I'm Jay Nakamura. Did you want your fake hair back?" So this is where he's like, "I think I understand why you were wearing a terrible wig." Okay, but can we talk about your terrible wig? Because no, just no. Don't do this. I've seen a couple of guys do this. Don't do this. I have yet to see a single guy who actually looked good with all pink hair. Don't do it. It doesn't look good. I know you think you're the no. It doesn't look good. I don't care if all your friends said it looked good. It doesn't. They lied to you. They're not good friends. Trust me. Pink hair is a wrong way to go. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Anyway, so John is like, "This is the problem with having hair that's impervious to bleach." And this is where, like I've said, this series has been having a lot of like attention because of this particular part. And this is where people are like assuming like, yes, EVS was right. They are going to be making him queer because that seems to be the way that DC is definitely going to go with John. So he gets this whole little speech from this guy where he's like, "It's okay. It must be hard to be his son. I mean, the flying is obviously a perk, but I can understand why you'd want to be something lesser sometimes, someone smaller." He says, "I actually may be able to help with that, but we need to have another conversation first." And that's where we kind of like go over to the island of Gamora. And we kind of like see the setup for this villain because, of course, if we're going to have a new Superman, he has to have a new white bald villain. So that's where we're getting this guy. So it says, "You need to know what you did today and where it leads. See, Gamora is supposed to be a paradise. Desperate people fleeing the country doesn't fit with that expensively constructed propaganda. You swooped in and picked up a boatload of consequences. The tyrant of Gamora will want you gone, and I know what he's capable of. President Henry Bendix will do whatever it takes to destroy you." I found this kind of funny because his last name is Bendix. And I'll tell you what, it was definitely something that sounds like Bendix that definitely has destroyed what we know as Superman. Not only Clark Kent, but also Jon Kent, because he was actually doing just fine as a little kid in like the whole Super Sons thing. And then all of a sudden he was like, no, he needs to be aged up and we'll make him Superman. Before he just promptly pieced out to go do his own thing. So thanks, Bendix. You went ahead and did your thing, destroyed Superman, and then you just kindly walked out the door without wiping your shoes. So thank you for all of that. But yeah, that's going to do it, I guess, for my review on Superman Son of Kal-El #2. I don't really know. I guess we're going to see, because yeah, that definitely seems like confirmation that, he's going to be queer. He's going to be gay in some respect. I don't know if they're going to do the old Tim Drake thing of like, well, he's actually bi. That doesn't really work anymore. Like, at this point, you're making him gay. If you make him anything other than straight, you're making him gay. That's how this always works. So I'm not going to even pretend to be surprised by it whenever he's like making out with dudes and like, I don't know, getting cheeks clapped by like aliens and shit. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because if y'all don't care, I don't care. So just, if you're keeping up with it, or if you read this, do feel free to let me know what you thought down in the comments. If you didn't read this and you felt some sort of way about it, feel free to let me know what you think down in the comments. But yeah, that's going to do it for me on this review. So if you enjoyed this video, then definitely like it. Make sure you are subscribed and share the video if you would like. Go and check out my Substack if you want to read some reviews too. But if you're done here, then go and read a book or my reviews. And if not, then I will see you on my next video.